You know that feeling, right? Trying to keep up with everything, always feeling like you're falling behind,
Oh, yeah.
especially in tech. It's like this constant stream, this fire hose of info.
Yeah.
You just wish someone would point out what actually matters.
Exactly. And that's what we try to do here.
So today we're doing a deep dive into something pretty big that's got the AI world talking. OpenAI's new GPT-4.1 family of models.
We've basically gone through their video announcement, pulled out the key stuff.
Essentials.
Yeah, distilled it down. Think of it as your shortcut to understanding these new tools without getting totally bogged down in the jargon.
Right. So our mission is pretty clear.
Yeah.
Pull out the really important bits about these GPT-4.1 models and explain why they matter, especially if you're trying to stay ahead in AI, which, let's face it, moves incredibly fast.
It really does. And what's interesting here is it's not just one model. No, it's a whole family kind of tailored for different needs. So first up, there's GPT 4.1. They're calling that their smartest one yet. Built for the really complex, demanding jobs.
Heavy lifter.
Exactly. Then there's GPT 4.1 Mini. That looks like the balance point. Good performance, but more affordable.
The sweet spot, maybe.
Could be. And finally, GPT 4.1 Nano. Smallest, fastest, and actually the cheapest model they've ever put out.
Wow. Okay. So different options for different use cases and budgets.
That seems to be the idea. Yeah, options for pretty much everyone.
Okay, let's dive in then. The headline grabber for me is the claim about performance.
Right.
They're saying GPT 4.1 is better than GPT 4.0
Their previous top model, yeah.
on just about every dimension. I mean, that's a bold claim.
It is bold, but, the benchmarks they shared seem to back it up. They're even saying it meets or beats what was expected from GPT 4.5 on key tests.
Really? GPT 4.5 levels?
That's what they're suggesting.
Yeah.
So if that plays out in the real world, it's a pretty significant leap forward.
Okay, now this next bit really caught my eye. All three models, 4.1, Mini, and even the Nano, they all support a massive 1 million token context window. 1 million.
It's huge, isn't it? I mean, think about it. That's like a small novel's worth of information it can hold in its working memory at once.
That's incredible.
And it's not just the size, right? It's how well they actually use that memory. They ran these needle in a haystack tests.
Yeah, I've heard of those.
So you hide a specific sentence, the needle, somewhere in that massive text haystack.
Okay.
And apparently all three models were almost perfect at finding that specific piece of info.
Even the Nano?
Even the Nano. Near perfect retrieval across the board. That shows they can really process and access info within that huge context.
And they pushed it further.
Yeah.
With a harder test.
Yeah, something called OpenAI MRCR. It's meant to be tougher, more like real-world, long document understanding. And early results show 4.1 and Mini doing really well there, too.
So for someone listening, what this really means is you could potentially feed it, I don't know, a massive research paper, long transcripts, and it wouldn't just summarize. It could actually pull out specific details, synthesize connections across the whole thing.
That's the promise. Much deeper understanding of large amounts of text.
Okay. Let's pivot a bit. Coding. That's always a big one.
Absolutely critical. And they're highlighting significant improvements in writing functional code here.
Functional code. So code that actually works.
Hopefully. And also code that follows specific instructions better, like adhering to specific formats, including diff formats.
Diffs. Like the track changes for code.
Exactly. Really important for developers tracking changes and working together. They claim the models are much better at generating those correctly.
Got any numbers on that? Benchmarks?
Yeah, quite impressive ones, actually. On SW Bench, that's like a tough coding exam for AI on real software problems.
Right.
GPT 4.1 scored 55%. Compare that to GPT 4.0, which was at 33%.
Wow, 33 to 55. That's a huge jump.
It really is. Shows a much better ability to handle those complex coding tasks. Even the Mini model got 24% on that same benchmark, which isn't bad at all.
And it's not just writing new code, you said. It's about how it handles changes.
Right. There's another benchmark, Ader's Polyglot benchmark. It checks performance across different languages, especially generating those diffs correctly.
Okay.
GPT 4.1 got 53% accuracy on correct diffs. Mini was at 32%. Even Nano showed a bit, 6%. So it suggests they're better at, understanding existing code and making the right modifications.
That's interesting. We also heard from an early tester, didn't we? Varun from Windsurf.
Yeah, he builds tools for developers, so he has a good perspective. Had some really interesting feedback.
What did he say?
He mentioned less verbosity.
Mhm.
So the AI is less chatty, gets more to the point,
Yeah.
and fewer degenerate behaviors, which, he explained, means things like the AI getting sidetracked, reading files it didn't need to, making changes that weren't relevant.
Okay. Less wasted effort.
Exactly. He put numbers on it too.
Uh,
So GPT 4.1 reads unnecessary files about 40% less often and modifies them 70% less.
70%. That's huge.
Yeah. And overall, about 50% less verbose. So for devs, that could mean a much cleaner, more efficient coding partner. Less noise, more signal.
Definitely sounds like a win for developers.
Okay.
Okay, so moving on to instruction following. How did that improve?
This is another area they flagged as vastly improved. Basically, they're saying the new models are much better at sticking to complex instructions.
Like really specific stuff.
Yeah, including tricky things like negative constraints telling it not to do something and very precise formatting rules.
And that could mean less fiddling with prompts, right? Less prompt engineering.
That's the hope. If it can understand more complex, nuanced instructions directly, you might not need all those clever tricks to get the result you want.
Be more direct.
Yeah, give clearer instructions and have it, actually execute them accurately.
Any metrics on this?
They have an internal test, the OpenAI IF Evol, specifically for hard instruction following tasks.
Okay.
GPT 4.1 hit 49% accuracy there. That's up quite a bit from GPT 4.0's 29%.
Almost double.
Pretty much. And Mini scored well, too, 45%. Nano got 32%. So, yeah, seems like a real step up in understanding and doing exactly what you ask.
And there was that demo too, right? The flashcard app.
Oh, yeah, Michelle's demo, that was quite telling. GPT 4.1 followed this really complex prompt-needed 3D animations, specific UI stuff.
And it nailed it.
Seemed to, yeah. Whereas GPT 4.0, when shown the same prompt, kind of struggled to get all the details right.
Mhm.
It really highlighted the difference in handling those complex layered instructions.
Okay. What about multimodal, vision, audio, that kind of thing?
Some improvements there, too. GPT 4.1 apparently hit state-of-the-art on the video MME benchmark, scored 72%, which is up from 65% for 4.0.
So better understanding of video content.
Seems like it. Could open doors for, better video analysis, maybe interaction.
And the mini model, how did it do multimodally?
Surprisingly well, actually. It showed strong results on MMEU and MathVista benchmarks. Those test multimodal understanding.
So even the mid-range one is good with images and stuff.
Yeah, it seems to punch above its weight class a bit in that area, even though it's cheaper.
Interesting. Okay, practical stuff. When can people actually use these? Availability.
Good news there. All three 4.1, Mini, and Nano, they're available in the API right now.
I'm ready.
Yep. Developers can start playing with them immediately.
And fine-tuning. Can you customize them?
Yes. GPT 4.1 and the Mini model can be fine-tuned starting today as well.
Okay.
They said Nano fine-tuning is coming soon, but the other two are ready for customization, which is great for businesses needing something really specific.
Right. Now the big question, cost. Pricing. What's the story there?
Okay, so OpenAI is positioning GPT 4.1 as cheaper than 4.0, about 26% cheaper, they said.
26% cheaper for the top model.
Nice.
Yeah. The specifics are $2 per $1 million input tokens, 50 cents for cached input, and $8 per $1 million output tokens.
Okay, and the Mini?
Even cheaper, 40 cents for input, just 10 cents for cached input, and $1.60 for output, per million tokens, of course.
Wow, okay, that's getting pretty affordable. But the Nano, you said that was the cheapest ever?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the real headline on price. Nano is just 10 cents for input,
10 cents.
2.5 cents for cached input, and 40 cents for output, all per million tokens.
Okay, that's incredibly cheap.
They gave a blended cost estimate of around 12 cents per million tokens. That kind of price point really could open up AI access for, well, almost anyone.
And crucially, what about that long context window?
Uh-huh.
Does using the full million tokens cost extra?
No. That's a key point they stressed. No price bump for long context.
Okay, that's huge.
It is. Whether you feed it 10 tokens or a million, the cost per token is the same. Removes a big financial barrier for working with large documents or data sets.
Makes sense. Now something else happened. GPT 4.5 is being deprecated.
Yeah, they announced that it'll be phased out of the API over the next 3 months.
Why is that?
Basically, because GPT 4.1 performs as well or better, so it doesn't make much sense to keep 4.5 around. Plus, they mentioned needing the GPUs, the computing power.
For future research.
Exactly. For R&D on whatever comes next, makes sense to consolidate onto their best, most efficient models.
Okay. And they launched some kind of data sharing program.
Yeah, a developer data sharing program. It's opt-in. Developers can choose to share anonymized API usage data.
Anonymized. Key point.
Absolutely. No personal or sensitive info. In return, they get free API credits.
Ah, okay. So save some money and OpenAI gets data.
Pretty much. They say it helps them build better evaluations and improve future models, making them more useful for what developers are actually doing, kind of a community effort to make the tech better.
I got it. Let's circle back to Varun from Windsurf, the early tester. You mentioned his feedback, but did he see actual performance gains?
Oh yeah, big time. He reported a 60% improvement in their own internal software benchmarks using GPT 4.1 compared to GPT 4.0.
60% in
Mhm.
their real-world use case.
That's what he reported, a really substantial impact. And again, he emphasized that reduction in degenerate behavior, less pointless file reading, less messing with code unnecessarily.
Right, the 40% and 70% reductions.
Exactly. And that 50% less chattiness, it all adds up to more efficient development. And Windsurf seems pretty happy they're offering 4.1 free to their users for a week, then discounts after.
That's a strong endorsement.
There really is. Shows a lot of confidence.
And those demos we saw, Ishan's demos, the log analysis one.
Right. That showed GPT 4.1 sticking to the rules, using XML tags correctly for formatting where 4.0 had messed it up, really drove home that improved instruction following.
Yeah.
But the one that really stuck with me was the other one Ishan did, the needle in a haystack on that huge NASA log file.
Oh, right, from 1995.
Massive file.
Massive, over 450,000 tokens.
Yeah.
And he asked it to find this one specific kind of weird line about a taper playfully explored.
A taper in a NASA log.
Apparently. And GPT 4.1 found it, pulled that one specific needle out of that enormous haystack. That really demonstrates the power of that million token context for finding precise information.
That's seriously impressive. Okay, so let's wrap this up. Let's summarize the key takeaways here. Sure, we've got this new GPT 4.1 family. Big claims on better performance overall.
Right. Better than 4.0 across the board.
A massive 1 million token context window, and that's for all three models, even Nano.
And they can actually use it effectively.
Seems so. Big steps up in coding ability, especially following instructions in formats like diffs.
Much better instruction following in general. Fewer prompt tricks needed.
Hopefully. Improved multimodal skills, especially video for 4.1 and general multimodal for Mini.
Available now in the API. Fine-tuning. Ready for 4.1 and Mini.
And a really competitive pricing structure. 4.1 is cheaper than 4.0, and Nano is incredibly cheap. Plus, no extra cost for that huge context window.
Okay, so for the listener, what's the bottom line? Why should they care?
Well, these are tools that promise faster, more accurate AI assistance. They can handle much larger amounts of information, understand more complex tasks. That long context unlocks new ways to analyze big documents, and better instruction following should make them easier and more reliable to work with.
More powerful, more efficient tools for getting things done, basically.
Exactly.
All right, so here's a final thought to leave everyone with. We've seen these big jumps in understanding long contexts, following really complex instructions.
Yeah.
What does that actually enable? What kinds of completely new applications or maybe new insights could become possible now that just weren't practical before? What problems that seemed too hard might now be within reach?
That's the big question, isn't it? What new doors does this open?
Something to think about.
Yeah.
It really feels like things are accelerating again.
Definitely an exciting time to be watching this space.